Hello there, welcome to the SimStream. Today I am building a pirate boathouse. As you could see in the title, just to let you know, my cat is on my lap. So if you hear some meowing, it's her. Her name is Nala. She's named after Nala from the Lion King, of course. Did you see the new trailer of the new Lion King movie that's coming out next summer? Oh, it looks so amazing. Simba looks so cute. I really liked the Jungle Book movie from Disney too. When they use real life animals. They don't use animals, but they look real life. I'm looking forward to that movie. But let's talk the build. For this build, I used a picture for inspiration. It was a picture from a very beautiful boathouse located in Idaho. I will put the link in the description box below. Actually, at the end of the build, the house doesn't look like the picture at all. That's mostly the case when I'm using pictures, when I'm building houses in The Sims. I use them to get inspired and to get my creativity flowing and to get started basically. But in the process, I let my imagination go freely, and it always turns out very different than a picture. I also used Pirates of the Caribbean as an inspiration, also a Disney movie. I loved Pirates of the Caribbean, or especially the first 3 movies. I think I didn't even see all of them. Are there 4, 5, even 6? I don't know. I loved Jack Sparrow, of course. Johnny Depp. Oh. And I also used the pirate series, the Black Sails, as an inspiration. Did you see Black Sails? Could really recommend it. It's a little bit gory with a lot of woohoo, but I liked it. I really like pirate movies and pirate series. For this build, I also had a sim in mind, or a playstyle in mind. When you have the season pack for The Sims, you can change the holidays. And there's also a holiday that's called Talk Pirate Day. And my idea was just to put the Talk Pirate Day on every day on the calendar. So all the interactions that your Sims can do with all the objects in the world are a little bit more pirate-like. And you could make a sim that looks like a pirate, or even a very pretty pirate girl. And you could get the curator ambition, I think it's called, to collect all the things and go fishing a lot. And this build would be perfectly for this. As you can see, I am building a house a little bit in a shape of a boat already. I used a round deck. I think it looks a little bit like the bow of a boat. Oh, before I forget, I actually have a question for you. Maybe you can help me. At the end of my speed builds, there are always screenshots. And to take the best screenshots, I have to take a sim to my build, go in live mode, and use the cameraman mode. That's you can go there if you push the tab button. But when I went there with a sim, the weather was very, very bad. It was raining and thunderstorms for 4 days. And do you know, if I can change the weather, I think there is some custom content for it. But I never use custom content, and I'm planning not to use it. And it's not a really big problem, but it would make the making of screenshots a little bit easier. So if you know the solution, please let me know. As you can see in this build, I am using a very big front of a ship. It's from the Get Famous pack. I really love the movie props that are in the Get Famous pack. There are a lot of piratey stuff like this, and cannons, and a steering wheel, as you can see later. There's also a crashed UFO. Oh, I really want to use that in a build in the future. I'm not sure what to do with it, but I will think of something. But I really like the movie props. They're really good for creative builds. As you can see here, I'm putting in the steering wheel. I think it already looks a little bit like a pirate ship. And the crates, I think I'm never using them again, only for a pirate build. But they're perfectly for this one. You can find this build on the Sims gallery. My OriginID is the same as the name of the channel, TheSimStream. I uploaded it on the gallery and I did it with a very red background, like an evening red, the sun is going down. I did it, I took a sim to the build and I waited until the weather was that good. And then I got to build mode and then I loaded up to the gallery. And that's why the back of the building looks so nice. Over here I'm putting in some pillars to make it look like a boat a little bit more. I will change the color of the wall pattern later. At first I went with this color because it's almost the same color as the boat. But later on I will make it a little bit more brown, a little bit more smooth. And I think, yeah, it looks a little bit better. As you can probably hear, English isn't my native language. I will apologize for any mistakes I'm making. This is actually my second voiceover for a video. So I think I will learn to speak English better when I'm making more speed build videos. And if you want to keep up with my development on that and see all the amazing builds I have in store for you, please subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it. If you have some tips for me to improve my voiceover or my speed build videos, or if you have some requests for me for something I have to build, please let me know. Over here you can see I used the windows from Get Together. I think they're really fitting for the boat. I really liked the Get Together pack too. I am from Holland and that's in Europe of course, and the whole pack has a little bit of a Europe feel. Especially if you want to make German houses or Austrian mountain houses. As you can see, I'm playing with the roofs here. As you can see, I'm making the roofs a little bit more curvy. Actually, when you're changing the roofs and you type in Shift-C, you get more options to use on the roof. You could create different curves and a curve in the top of the roof. Over here I'm also using windows from the Get Together pack. I really think they're very fitting for a boat. When I saw them in this build, I couldn't believe I never built a boat before. They're perfect for it. I changed the, under the building to look a little bit more like a boat. I never built a boathouse before, it's my first time, but I really liked it. It was very fun to play with shapes and different kind of roofs. I really like builds when there's water around it or under it. I also did it in my previous speed build video. It's an elven forest treehouse with a little bit of, with a little pond under it. I really love the water in The Sims 4. It looks so realistic. I like the reflection of the house in the water when you put water in front of it. And I also like that you can change the water in all kinds of different colors. Especially the colors that came with the pack Jungle Adventure. Of course, I'm using the Jungle Adventure pack a lot too, because it's a tropical build, so I use a lot of palm trees and the Jungle Adventure trees, the big ones. Over here you can see I'm changing the color of the exterior. I think it looks so much better. The same for the glass roof I'm putting in. I think it gives the whole boat another dimension. And over here the other windows. I think we're almost at the landscaping. I really love landscaping in The Sims. Actually, I'm in love with every part of building in The Sims. I'm in love with making exteriors of houses, making modern houses, making fantasy houses like this, creative houses. And I also really love to make a nice garden and do the landscaping very good. Over here I put in more movie props from the Get Famous pack, the latest pack. Over here I'm putting in just a little bit more ship parts. And I think it's already really coming together, just a little bit more from the Get Together roofs. I used a lot on the island in Windenburg. Windenburg is the world that came with a Get Together pack. I really love the world. There's so much lots you can build on. And the beaches on the island and the city center, the European city center with the mountains behind it. Oh, I love it. I'm putting a little bit more windows in over here. I actually changed the window up, as you can see. I'm trying out some modern windows, but I obviously didn't fit for the build. But the island in Windenburg, yeah, I love it. It's so much better than the world in Get Famous. I love that the world was a little bit different than the other worlds, but I would have liked it if there were a little bit more open lots. But well, the very big amount of objects you get in the Get Famous pack makes up for the lots. Of course, there has to be a flag on a pirate ship. Unfortunately, there wasn't a skull flag. Over here you can see I'm putting in the lake. Always when I'm trying to make a natural looking lake or a natural looking pond, I use a lot of curves and corners. Later on, I will put in a sand color pool trim and put a lot of terrain paint around it in the same color, so it looks a little bit more beachy. Over there I have had a little bit of a struggle. I could put the whole pool, because that's what I'm using, against the house, but just not in that little corner. I think it's because the boat is just reaching the house over there. So later on you can see I covered it up with rocks. The same thing I did with the pool trim, as you can see later. Yeah, the water looks so good. It looks so sparkly. Over here I'm covering up the corner. Actually, I just got the outdoor retreat pack. So crazy, because it was the first pack that came out for The Sims. And I actually got it later than I got Get Famous. The fire you can see in the front of the build is also from Get Famous. Over here you could see, as I told you, I will put in a sanded color pool trim and put the terrain paint around it. I always use the same method for this, because I think it looks way more natural. Over here I'm putting in some wall coverings. Oh, and the cannons. They're so perfect for this build. I changed up the water a couple of times, but I went with this very blue azuric colored water. I think it fitted the tropical beach, tropical island feel the best. And I also like the thing where I'm using on now, the round room at the front. The round, it's not really a room, but eagle's nest. low eagle's nest on the deck. I really like it too. Over here I'm using tables from the outdoor retreat bag to create a waterfall. I really like to make waterfalls in my builds. I think they're always looking amazing. I'm using fountains for it. I place a lot of it next to each other so it looks like a waterfall. This waterfall is actually a little bit strange because where's the water coming from? They're just rocks. But I use a very small lot for this build. So if you download this build on my gallery, you can find it under Tropical Pirate Boathouse, I think, or just Pirate Boathouse, because Tropical didn't fit in the whole title box in the gallery. You can put it on a bigger lot if you want, like a 50 by 50 or a 64 by 64. And you can put a little bit more water around it. I really like the greens behind the water. And I really like this plant. I think it's from Jungle Adventure, the same for the fern I'm using. The fern is so easy to use because it covers up a lot of the ground, so you don't have to use a lot of plants to make the same effect. I wanted to give the whole build a little bit of a tropical island feel, so that's why I'm using the wooden benches over here. And the fire. There is also a kitchen in the boat. But if you want to eat outside or anything, you are able to. Over here there's the amazing tree from Jungle Adventure. I also use the tree a lot for treehouse builds because it's so tall and you could fit a whole house in it without the branches and the leaves that will be in the house. A lot of palm trees. Oh, the lighting. The lighting I put in on the left was also from the outdoor retreat bag. I really like it. As you could see a couple of minutes ago, sometimes I have some objects in the right corner of my build. That's because sometimes I have to think about which object to use, and I do that off camera, of course, because the build would be way too long if I put all my thinking time in it. So off camera I search up the objects and I place them in the right corner of the build, so the build is a little bit faster, a little bit more fun to see, I think. Put a little bit more of the plants. The last plant I used, the big one with the purple flowers in it, I actually just found out there are more colors for it. I thought there was only one. Maybe it's an update, I don't know. The green things under the boat I'm putting in now, the green leaves. In Dutch it's called eendenkroos. I really don't know what it's called in English, but I think it gives the boat a little bit more dimension, a little bit more green. The brown and the green have a little bit more contrast and more lighting and more plants. And I think the build is really coming together. At the back I did the same thing and I did at the front. I cut it out of the video because it worked exactly the same as the front. Over here I'm building in the stairs so you could get in the house. My first plan was to build a bridge at the front of the house, but when I did it I think the house looked not that good because there are not hanging bridges or bridges with ropes. So I just put it on the side, so it's a little bit more covered up. The lamps I'm using in the boats are also from the Get Famous pack. They're from the Western themed objects. And I sized them up and I put them in a boat and I think they're looking amazing. I think we're almost at the interior part of the build. For the interior part I also looked up pictures online. And the pirate ship interiors I found were all with a lot of woody colors, of course, because they're all in ships. And all the wood that was used was all the same color. So I wanted to have the kitchen as the same color as the walls. And I wanted to have a treasure chest in it. Over here I'm using this crate as a treasure chest, but later on I found a way better option, so I will put it in later. And I also put a little bit of red in the interior, red curtains. And the bathroom, in some kind of way, I thought it was a little bit strange to put a bathroom in a pirate ship. But on the other hand, there had to be bathrooms in pirate ships because they were on the sea for months and months. But I never really thought about bathrooms in pirate ships. But well, I went with it. Over here I'm putting in the kitchen. Actually, I'm changing up the kitchen later because I forgot to put a lamp in the kitchen, so I didn't see the color very good. And over here I could see the color of the kitchen was different than the color of the walls, and I wanted to have the same color in the kitchen as in the walls. So I'm changing it up in this one. I'm also putting a kitchen island in. I don't know if it's fitting for a pirate ship build, but I think I'm a little bit in a kitchen island phase. Such a strange sentence, but I use kitchen islands in all my builds now, when there's room for it. So I build it in here too, as you can see. Most of the time I will put a rack above it with pans and pots in it, as you can see later. At first I went with the lighting, but I will put in other lighting, as you can see. The walls, the wallpaper I used is also from Get Famous. It's used for the background on a movie set, but I think it looks good as wall coverage in a pirate ship. I used some herbs from the laundry day pack to give the kitchen a little bit more of a realistic look. There's the first pop of red I'm using. Later on I'm putting in curtains and different kind of chairs. And a globe, of course. It's so fitting. Over here you can see I found a way more fitting treasure chest. I didn't find any gold. There is obviously, or I think, I'm sorry, a fold in the Get Famous pack, but I didn't use it, and I thought it wouldn't be fitting. Yeah, it is a treasure, but it's not fitting for a pirate build. These curtains are very fitting for a pirate build, I think. The same for this table. I'm putting in the chandeliers. I wanted to use this new light from the Get Famous pack. It's a medieval castle light, but it was a little bit too big for this build, so I leave it out. I went with a black chandelier. And different kind of chairs. They are different, but they look the same. They look the same colors, but the very slightly different shapes I liked very much. A little bit of fruit. They are freshly picked from the tropical fruit trees outside. And the globe with a lot of candles surrounding it. I didn't put a fire alarm in because I thought it would be strange to have a fire alarm in a pirate ship. But I think because I put a lot of candles in, it will be a little bit of a fire hazard to live live here, I'm sorry. So if you want to use this build in your game, I think it would be a good idea to put a fire alarm in it. Over here I'm using paintings from the vampire pack. I really loved the vampire pack. I'm planning to do a vampire build very soon, but I don't want to build another vampire mansion. I want to think of a little bit more original, but I'm not really sure what to do yet. But you will find out later. Over here, just the one green chair. I think it was cool. Just a little bit of different color. And a very cool, what is it called? The thing on the floor? So stupid. Sometimes I know a lot of English words and sometimes I just can't get the word for it. But well, the thing under the table, it's also from the vampire pack. I also build a lot of modern houses, and of course it's not fitting for a modern house, but I love it when I'm building a themed house like this, and I can use items that most of the time I won't use, like this mirror and the toilet I put in. The only time I used it was when I was building a vampire build. Over here I'm changing up the bedroom. I also use the bed from the vampire pack. Vampires and pirates are very different, of course, but yeah, I thought the bed and the paintings were also suited for the pirates. At the outside of this bedroom, there are swords on the wall. I don't know if you can see them right now. There are on the outside. I really like them too. I think I will never use them again for another build. Or I have to do a pirate build again, of course. But for this build, I loved building this house. I think we're almost at the end of the build though. I really like putting speed build videos on YouTube. If you have some questions for me or some tips, please let me know. I'm planning to upload at least 2 videos a week. At least for now. Later on I will put up much more, I think, but now I'm just getting used to editing and making voiceovers like this one. So for now, just 2 uploads. But yeah, keep up with me. At last the lamp's here. And that was it. I hope you enjoyed it. And until the next time.